Hello, so it's me and I'm wearing the same stuff as what I wore last week. But today, this evening, that lighting is just not ideal, is it? I am going on the HA podcast with Danny Sharif and I thought I would film our chat and upload it onto YouTube.
Well, let's talk about HA.
I know.
Okay, so literally before this call, before me and you got on this call, I just finished hanging up with I have like a business coach.
Cool.
And obviously we talk about this subject all the time because this is like this is my thing.
Yeah.
And I was saying that the shoe is going to drop. And there's a lot of people, like say nutrition coaches and fitness businesses that are not ready. But Kim Kardashian or someone is going to post that they have this problem.
Yeah.
And no one's going to be ready. So, I mean, I don't know if I feel like there's a parallel here on a micro scale, right? So when Black Lives Matter happened just recently and the world blew up and every company suddenly had to look at themselves and say, well, how are we contributing to this and how are we going to be better?
Yeah.
On a smaller scale, this isn't a racial issue, but it's a health issue, and a lot of companies and influencers and people are going to have to look at themselves and be like, how have we contributed to this, and how are we helping, and what changes are we making?
Yeah, I mean, I'm even aware of it on, like, my tiny scale of when I was a personal trainer. I look back at some of, like, I was giving clients advice that I wasn't even doing myself. So I was saying to clients they need to make sure they eat enough, they need to do this, they need to do that. Like, you know, you'll be so surprised of how many calories you need to eat. I promise you need to eat over 2,000 calories. Like I was telling everyone to do the complete opposite to what I was doing. And even then, I still look back now at the stuff that I told my clients and I was like, shit, like I was telling clients to train with me once a week, then go in and do like 3 HIIT sessions and like make sure they hit 10,000 steps a day and stuff like that. And it's like, God.
And you're like giving them tips for how to eat less, basically.
And actually, like, yeah, that's absolutely fine. So like, I will always be an advocate for someone if they want to change their body to feel more confident and sexy in themselves. I'm all for that. But I think if you're not in the right mindset and if you haven't dealt with the society struggles and the society norms that it's implemented in, like what the media has told us to do, if you're not aware of any of that and then you go into changing your body, it's literally like a hoover of suction that you would literally just like fall straight into this hole of just like, shit, I'm never going to be good enough. So then you just keep training, dieting. You look at other influencers, like they're like, oh my god, she looks banging, I must need to lose more fat, I've got more fat than her, so let's lose. And then it's just like downward spiral, and then half of them don't even know that they've got anything wrong because they're on the pill, which is a whole nother kettle of fish, right?
I can't believe I was just having this exact same conversation because my coach, she was like, well, do you have any idea like what the actual how many people have this kind of thing? I was like, no one knows. That's
no one knows.
The problem.
Yeah,
it's
and
like
I think it's so secret. It's so secret. I even get on like a little rampage when I look back about what we're taught in schools. I don't know what it was like in the education system for yourself, but like in the UK, like we're not taught about girls allowing to want to have sex. We're not taught about encouraging girls to explore their bodies, or we are literally told that once a month you have a period, you should use tampons or a pad, and that's it. And it's that's
my memory.
Yeah, like the school system doesn't teach you anything about any, like I've been reading books this year, one called Come As You Are, and I've learned more about the female body in that book than I have my whole time at school. And I just think, I'm 24 years old, for Christ's sake, why am I only learning this now?
Totally. So imagine how different our whole experience would be is if we had learned in high school, day one, it's really important you have this. If it doesn't come every month, it can actually be a really great indicator of your overall health. Like if we knew that from the beginning, the situation would be a lot different for many
100%.
people.
Oh,
Of course, you
God,
can't
I'd
sing
love to go
everyone,
into schools.
but a lot of girls will speak more openly, will say to their trainer, to their coach, or even just realize themselves, oh, maybe I shouldn't be following this like Whole30 or something so strictly right now.
Yeah. But it's even as well, when I was a personal trainer, it was only after I left personal training full time that I became aware about how we should train differently depending on where we are in our cycle, and how like you shouldn't, as females, we shouldn't be going for PBs every single day of our cycle or of the month, because every single day our hormones are going to be slightly different, and it's like, shit, like I could have got such better results with clients, or like I could have really damaged clients if I'm encouraging them to go for it and make sure you're progressing every session and every week. And it's like, shit, like girls, like we don't, like if the week before your period all you can do is a bit of a yoga session, that's perfect. That's exactly what you should do, because that's the time that you should be resting and recuperating and stuff. And it's like, I just look back and I just think like, no one knows any of this.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's such a vicious cycle, because if you're able to say to your client, you're in this phase of your cycle, so your expectations can be fairly adjusted to this, that takes away in itself so much pressure.
Yeah.
When you understand what's happening and have that context, it's so much easier for you to be like, oh, okay, I'll just go with the flow then. But if you don't understand, like, why am I not hitting these? I love that you say PB. Everyone here says PR. It's like really uncomfortable to say.
What's PR?
PR. Well, we say PR, but that just sounds like PAH. But
yeah.
PR, like personal record. And
oh,
that's so bad. Yeah, but if we're always striving for that, yeah, and we don't understand why it's not working out this week, like it's painful, and then it makes you work harder and grind harder,
and then add more stress to the body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a whole. I at some point, I guess, like us talking about it and like your podcast, like this is just the start of us talking about it. But I often sit back and think, I actually don't even know where to start, because I'm also very aware that I'm only ever telling it from my experience and my journey. I don't have qualifications like a nutritionist qualification or anything like that, so I would always try to direct people to those. But I'm like, where do we even start on a mass scale? Like how do, because everyone just wants to get rid of their period still, don't they? Like teenagers, they're like, find it annoying, and then that's why the pill's so popular. And it's like, or I've had people that have come to me and gone like, yeah, no, I'm absolutely fine because I'm on the pill, so I have a period every month. And I'm like, no, you don't. You have a breakthrough bleed.
So painful.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like I was on the pill for, Christ, like 6-7 years maybe, and not once was I taught anything about that. All I was told was, that's going to stop your period, take it.
It's going to stop your period?
Yeah.
Oh, so, wow, that was the selling point for you.
Yeah.
Gosh. I mean, I was on it a lot over 10 years ago, so like my HA story is one that doesn't really involve birth control. And that's what's so important with your question of like, where do we start?
Yeah.
And you don't have qualifications and all of that stuff. Yeah, well, when the people with qualifications start speaking out, like, we can back off. But at the moment, they're not.
Yeah.
So someone has to. And really the best thing that we can be doing, and I think that honestly truly has been most helpful for almost everyone that I've spoken to, is just hearing other people's stories and experiences. Because, and like, I go on this spiel all the time on my podcast because it's so hard to recover when you can't see yourself in like the stories and all of the information out there. I mean, I say all of it, like a lot of the information out there is about anorexia, like serious eating disorders, extremely lean people, and that none of that was ever me. It was really just a girl with not a lot of information doing what she thought she was supposed to do and developing some disordered eating tendencies, but by sharing my story, other people are able to see, oh, that sounds like me too.
Yeah.
And right now I feel like that's what we have to do.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there is still that athlete or eating disorder mentality that, like, if you're an athlete, you will lose your period, and that's quite common. If you have an eating disorder, anorexia or bulimia, you might lose your period, and that's quite common. But it's like, actually, like, I was a personal trainer just trying to show, well, I guess just trying to show up as the personal trainer. And I think I definitely got into exercise. I actually got into exercise to try to impress a guy and to try to, like, be good enough, right? And it just then went in, like, down that little path of becoming then into a personal trainer. And then I slowly, I think I started to show up as a personal trainer, and then I slowly dived, and I can kind of picture the turning points, actually. Like, when I look back in my life, I'm like, oh yeah, that happened, and then I started to do that, and then and it was like one workout became 2 workouts. Then I would read something that fasted cardio was better, so I would do fasted cardio in the morning when weights in the evening. And then that became like, oh, okay, well, some such and such says eat loads of protein, so then protein shakes came into it. And then it's like I was following other people that was saying about clean eating, and I think this was like the start of when, like, Instagram was becoming massive. So, like, you believed absolutely everything, right? And I just read, and I dived right into the internet, and I was just reading all of this different stuff that was telling me to do all different types of stuff. And there was no, like, real turning point. There was no real eating disorder. There was no real thing. I was just trying, I guess my story would be, I was just trying to be good enough, or trying to feel good enough. And because I hadn't worked on my mindset, and I hadn't accepted or become okay with who I was, that never came. So I would lose weight and I would still hate myself, so I would try to lose weight even more. I would do a workout, I would look in the mirror, there still wasn't abs, so I would diet even more and do exercise even more. And then add in the factor that it was my job, because I only got into it as a job because I was so obsessed with it. Add that into my job, and then I felt even added pressure of being like, you have to show up and live this lifestyle that you're telling other people to live. And then I was at uni, and I managed to structure my whole uni course around, like, the sports industry and fitness. So then, like, there was that added pressure. So my whole life was engulfed in fitness and exercise, but there was nothing on the outside. To everyone else, I was just healthy and really into the gym. And I think
that's how you probably felt about yourself too. Like, you were healthy
100%.
and really into the gym,
Yeah.
but still obviously not doing something right.
Yeah.
Because you probably looked in the mirror and only saw, like you said, still no abs. That was me too. I was like, how much harder do I need to work for this? Like, I'm so confused.
Yeah.
Very confusing, because having abs is like, that means that I'm doing everything right?
Yeah.
But it also makes a lot of logical sense that actually before I can have abs, before I can have them, I would need to probably cull a few other essential things from my body first.
Yes.
Which being, obviously, my reproductive system, having decent skin, having strong hair, having good nails, having, like, just looking tired as a fuck. It's just, your body's going to throw a lot of other things overboard before it can even get to that point for a lot of people.
100%. It was the other symptoms that made me try to improve myself even more. So when I had really bad skin, I had really bad digestion. So that when you underfuel, obviously your body will push the energy to where the limited energy that you're eating, it will push it to where it needs it most, and the body will always prioritize movement. That's what Renee McGregor, my dietitian, taught me. And she was saying, so, like, if you're prioritizing movement and you're exercising too much, your body's like, that's fine, but we haven't got enough energy to give you good skin. We haven't got enough energy to help your digestive system or your reproductive system. So it switches off everything. But in that, I had, like yourself, like horrendous skin. I was constantly constipated. Love that. I love saying that, constantly constipated. And in my eyes, that was a problem with my diet and a problem with me, and I needed to solve that. And I would solve that by being even more healthier and exercising even more, because that is healthy. And it's like actually all of the other symptoms, like low libido, like gone. Didn't care about it. No libido. Constantly tired. I was falling, like, I love an early night and an early morning, and all of my closest friends and family will know that. Like, they laugh at me that I'm like, I love a 9 p.m. bedtime. But I was like needing to go to bed at 8 o'clock. I would wake up and I'd jump out of bed because I was so pumped full of adrenaline. I'd reach straight for a coffee, and then I'd have, I reckon when I was at uni, I was having like 6 coffees a day just to get through the day. I'd allow myself, I laugh now because at 5, I could not have caffeine past 12 o'clock now, but I would have a coffee when I finish uni at 5 o'clock. I'd get on the train to go home, and I allowed myself 6 almonds and 6 raisins and a black coffee as a pre-workout.
I feel ya, because you're probably trying to have somewhere between like 1,900 calories, maybe less, like, and that's why you're rationing out this amount of food, and we all think that that's a lot of food as well. We're like, and we're angry at ourselves because, like, why am I still hungry? Like, why can't I just be satisfied? Why can't I be that girl who actually doesn't actually exist? It's all a facade. But why can't I be that girl who, like, goes to the restaurant and doesn't finish all of her food? Or, like, doesn't want something? It's all lies. That girl goes home and she eats.
But I do have friends, so, like, my boyfriend, for example, he could take or leave food, and like he has such a normal relationship with food that I often kind of get it now. I'm kind of out of it, but I remember looking at people with like a normal relationship with food and thinking like, wow, like my friend, for example, like we all go out for dinner and say like a friend would just order what she wants, or I would go out for dinner with my parents and my mum would order a glass of wine and not think anything of it, and in my head I'm like, Mum, you're drinking like 200 calories there. Why on earth would you do that? And it's like all of these like really awful thoughts going around in my head that I would just think like, oh, I would love to have a burger and chips, but
I can't. That's not. I don't do that. Yeah. And you're so right. There are people that are like that, and so I guess when I say that person eats, it's like they just probably ate more earlier, or they're, because they're eating enough for them. And it's so funny when you talk about like starting to understand how people can have a normal relationship with food. My husband, I'm married. My husband is the same. And I've always been like, how are you not focused on like when our next meal is or something like that? And now I can honestly say my horizons are broadened. I will just eat whatever. And if I have to, so like it's 12:30 now, I totally had the time wrong for our call, and I'm pretty freaking hungry. And I've like, but I was like, oh, okay, I can go a little longer. And I'm still feeling energized and pumped because in general, I'm a well-fed person.
Yeah.
But prior, now is eating time. Like, oh my God, I cannot do this call. I am starving. And I was going to eat at 12. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just get this freedom from these rules and this obsession around food when you can...
100%. I would going to visit my dad so he lives like 4 hours away. When I used to go and visit them, I would text my dad and my stepmom ahead of the time that I was going to be like, what are we eating this weekend? So I would be like, okay, what's the plan? I would word it like, what's the plan for this weekend? And like when you're visiting family, a lot of that revolves around food anyway, doesn't it? So that was like a sly little like, okay, I'll find out for food. My stepmom does like the most amazing curry. So she was like, oh, we'll probably do a curry Saturday night. We always go to our family friends on like a Sunday. So we'll go to Auntie and Vicky's on a Sunday. And I was in, maybe like my nana and granddad were coming around on the Friday, so I'm like, okay, takeaway Friday, potentially, maybe a curry on a Saturday night, maybe a roast, okay, that's fine. So on Saturday morning, I'll go for a run, tell them I'm doing some kind of challenge or something, then tell them that I'm not that hungry, so I'll skip lunch, and then when it comes to the curry situation, I just tell them I hate rice. Oh no, I can't stand rice, so I want to avoid it. And then I would go to Andy and Vicky's and I would have starved myself all weekend and all week, and I would be, her roasts are incredible, but I would be like just presented with this huge roast and I would not be able to stop. Not to the point of like full binge eating disorder, but like I would, 100%, and I would go in and I'd have to undo my button, and then Monday would start all over again. It's like, oh, I ate a lot yesterday, so I'd run, and then, and it's like
I would love to touch on this meat bit. So I haven't heard anyone talk about this, but I would, I love making bone broth and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. So I would make that every week, and I would order in these like beef bones that from this local place, they just send you a pack of them, and before you make the broth you roast it, and it has like bits of meat on it.
Okay.
And I would roast them, and before, guys, this is so embarrassing. Before I would put them in the pot to slow cook, I couldn't not just pick up the bones and eat the meat off them, like full, like there's a grease all over me. I'm like, I'm gorging myself on these things. And I realize in hindsight now, because that does not happen to me, but I was having an animalistic response to having red meat with actual like animal fat off the bone in front of me. I couldn't not do it. Mm-hmm. I was completely deprived of high fat meat and red meat, and for women to not have enough red meat, I think honestly it played a huge role in my HA.
Really?
And I needed it. Like I physically needed it, and now that I eat plenty of meat with like plenty of fat content, it's not something that happens to me anymore. And I think the reason in like sharing this story and you being like, the roast came out and I was like, if you're feeling those, if you're having that response to food, it's not because you like are undisciplined around food. It's actually a physical animalistic response
100%.
To something that you need, and it's so much easier to literally put the fork down once you've invested a significant amount of time in no longer restricting yourself of these things.
Definitely. And I think someone asked me on Instagram yesterday, I'm eating 2,500 calories, but I'm still hungry. Should I continue eating? And I think it's really important that everyone kind of understands that hunger doesn't stop at physical symptoms. So like, just because your stomach's not growling doesn't mean you're not hungry. If every single thought is around food, so you're thinking, you wake up in the morning and you're like, what's breakfast, lunch, dinner? You eat lunch and you're like, oh, I can't wait for dinner. It's having those like what you were saying, like those animal instinct type things of like not like completely losing all sense of like, I don't know if you agree, but it was kind of like losing all sense of surroundings. I was so focused on that plate and how much I could fit into my mouth that is a sign of hunger. And like digestion problems, sign of hunger. If you're not processing your food, that's probably because you haven't got enough energy in there to be able to process it properly. And
so it takes time.
Yeah, and we're always told to eat less, move more, and to only eat when you're hungry. And it's like, well, actually hunger shows up in a variety of different ways for so many people. And it's really interesting that you say that about the meat thing, because I completely agree. All I thought about was chicken. I was obsessed with Nando's. Have you had a Nando's?
We have Nando's in
Do
Australia.
you? Oh yeah, you do. Really good, actually. I would actually say I preferred the menu in Australia, Nando's, than I do to the UK, because I was amazed. But that's all I could think about was chicken. And recently, so it's been, I think I'm 3 months in, I have gone vegan. And what's strange is because I'm actually eating the right amount of food for my body, I haven't had any weird actually, I lie. I was on antibiotics and I had a real big craving for like a beef burger. But I knew that was like calorie wise, and so I take like B12, and I worked with like making sure that I'm not making vegan.
A little bit about like how your life changes when you're less obsessed with food and exercise. Like, I wouldn't have this podcast. You probably wouldn't have this YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have the DMs that I'm sure you get from people saying, oh my God, this was so helpful for me. Thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. No, you would still be in your gym, like trying to fix your ego, trying to just be smaller, and none of this would have happened for you. So there's so much to gain from it. It's just like how can you pivot and turn these things around and move on with your life?
I think, yeah, like for me, the biggest things that I've seen is my life is completely different. I don't even see 90% of the people that I used to see. And I think, obviously we're in a pandemic and it's an awful situation and our whole lives have been changed, but I actually think that's exactly what I needed. And actually when we got put into lockdown, I was able to completely be like, whoa, life's completely different now. I wasn't able to go to the gym. I wasn't able to see the people that triggered me before. My whole life was completely turned upside down. So I just kind of embraced it. And I appreciate not everyone's going to be in that position that I was in. But that's not to say that there's not ways that you can start to just alter your life a little bit. I always say to people, just commit to having fun and see what happens. So
that's a good way to put it.
As soon as I committed that I was going to start to have fun, and I filled my diary up with things that in my eyes were fun, so meeting friends, phone calls with friends, like cooking, doing YouTube, trying like handstand practice because that's so much less intense exercise. As soon as I started to just commit to fun, I was really then struggling to have space in my mind for like other thoughts. I also started at the beginning of this year the Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin.
Yeah.
And so in that, it just like quickly sum it up, it's basically like you commit to 3 things and you do them every single day for a month. And that really helped me because again, I had very limited space in my head to then worry about food. So one that really helped me was to take a photo of my meals and send it to my stepmom every day. So that was part of my happiness project, but it was also a way of helping me keep accountable. And that then just enabled me to like explore so many new recipes, and I was able to explore different ways of working out. And when you say about like what we've gained from it, like yeah, we've got YouTube and the podcast and stuff, but like I know, hand on my heart, the guy that I'm with now, I would never ever have attracted into my life if I hadn't have healed. The work progressing that I'm doing, even on like YouTube or in my normal day job, the amount of energy that I have for that now is ridiculous. I look at my schedule for the week now and I think, God, I am so busy. Yet I used to think I was mega busy before, and I was, but the difference was I was so unhappy and I was either working out or I was asleep. And it's like, I just feel like I have so much more time back. I have so much more time to see family, so much more energy to speak to people and to socialize. I just feel like a completely new person. I also feel sexier, and I'm a dress size bigger, so explain that one, because I used to think skinnier and smaller the better, but I just feel like you gain so much when you commit to that journey, and it doesn't matter whether you take 1 step forward and 5 steps back, you'll learn something from those 5 steps back, so, which will enable you to take 2 steps forward next time. And it's like, you will gain so much, even if it's just a lesson or like something that you wouldn't do again. You will gain so much by just going, do you know what, I'm just going to give this a go, because whatever shitstorm you've been through and what you've put your body through over the past however long anyway, you're still here now and you still got through it. So what is it to say, to commit to, I don't know, for 1 month I'm going to commit to eating carbs at every single meal. For 1 month I'm going to work out 3 times a week instead of 7 times a week. It doesn't matter. There's always another month after that. That if you really hate it, you can. If no one's ever stopping you, if you commit to three times a week and you start eating more carbs and stuff, and you completely hate it, fine. You've got free will. You can do whatever you like. But there's no harm in trying. And I just think as soon as you start that, you'll start to see little, like, I like to call it like little miracles come into your life, of just like showing you that the universe does have your back. As soon as you start treating your body with the respect and the love that it needs, you can manifest your dream life as soon as you start doing that.
Totally.
Sorry, I went on to like funny. A rampage then.
I loved it. It was like, because it reminded me of so many points. Like, it's funny how many people will say like, but I'm afraid of what happens or who I'll become when I lose this part of my identity, when I'm not this like fit person anymore. And sure, there can be times where you might mourn that. You might be in situations with old friends or triggering situations that potentially could bring that back up. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, 100%.
But those become fewer in between, and those are no different to how you feel when you remember that you don't have period or whatever. Like, you know, you're just like, it's the same shit.
Yeah.
And when, like you're saying, you start to step into this, all of these new possibilities that you see around you, like, you actually start to realize how freaking magical the world is.
Oh,
that
100%.
Food is literally the spice of life.
Yeah.
That having energy to do all these things, you can actually look in the mirror at, you know, your bit of weight gain and be like, hang on, so you're telling me for the cost of this little bit of weight gain, I get to have all of this life, all of this energy, all of this love. I get to laugh again, because let's be real, we actually stopped laughing.
Oh, 100%.
And having fun.
I was miserable.
Like,
I was a miserable bitch. I really was. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't have the energy to do anything. I just wanted to be alone. I just wanted to be in the gym or alone. And it's sweet, because like people would say, like in the gym when I was taking classes and stuff, like, oh, you've got so much energy and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, it's all a persona. I'll go home and like just completely.
I used it all up for this class.
Yeah, literally, yeah. And yeah, I completely agree. Like, I just find the little bit. I just still look in the mirror now, and I think you look completely different to what you did. Like, you are a dress size bigger. You are nowhere near as lean. You don't have abs. Like, you don't have that muscle pop thing on your shoulders or anything anymore. Yeah. I feel sexier than I ever have done. Libido's back, energy's back, the laughter's back, being up for doing things. I just feel like I can finally dream again as well, because I can see that there's a future, because life's already good now. So if you think like, life's great now, and I know if I continue to work on myself, think how even like better life could be, you know?
Yeah, in just a very short period of time, how much you've been able to grow.
Yeah,
personally, like it. Yeah, but when you're focused on just becoming smaller, I mean, come on, like you're going to become smaller on the inside and the outside.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And smaller in everything, right? Like, you won't have the energy to work really hard at your job. You won't have the energy to work really hard at your friendships. So you'll lose friendships. You'll lose relationships. They will break down. You'll lose so much of your life. I just found that I was losing time because I was in such a fog constantly.
Yes, I love that point. I forgot about that. You lose time. Like, you're actually looking at the clock, wishing it was time for your next meal.
Yeah.
When now you look at the clock and you're like, okay, good, it's only 10 o'clock. I can fit in all of these extra activities because I just like, it's just too early for lunch right now.
Yeah.
But when I used to wish time away. Oh,
Yeah.
I hope it's bedtime soon so I can
so I
go
could
to
just go
sleep
to
and
sleep.
stop worrying about the hunger. And when I wake up, I can have breakfast. And
Yeah.
now I can't wait. I've had breakfast, so I hope it's lunchtime soon.
Yeah.
And you just want it all to...
When I was a personal trainer, I would wake up at 5, have a coffee, go to my 6 a.m. client, have clients till around 10, 11, go back home, and I wouldn't then need to be back into the gym until 4:30 for my old clients, my evening clients, and I would literally come home, eat a salad, or maybe like eggs and bacon. That was quite a popular one for me to eat. And I might have had mushrooms and tomatoes, but some days even that might have been too high carb for me. And then I would watch this. I would watch This Morning on record, which I would have recorded. I would have watched Loose Women. I would watch. There's a program called It's Stop Now, but it was called Jeremy Kyle, which, if they're listening from the UK, like, they'll know exactly what I mean. It's just people shouting at each other. It's like Jerry Springer type of thing. You know Jerry Springer? Did you see that? Yeah. And then I would sleep until I had to go. And that was my life constantly. And it would literally like drain every single bit of my energy. And that gap that I had, I would do that every day because I didn't have any energy to go and see anyone at all. And I would literally just be, and that time would fly. Like, absolutely fly. It would be like, I'd get in, I would shut my eyes or watch, and it would be like, oh God, I've got to go find some energy to get back to work. Couple more coffees, let's go, you can do this. Finish at 9 o'clock, come back, maybe have a protein shake or something, because I knew I had to get to bed because I was up at 5 again.
Yeah. I feel ya. I had a similar one, up at 4 a.m, go to work till 4 p.m.
Yeah.
And then go to the gym and then go home.
Yeah. It was, whereas now I just feel like I can get so much done. Like, I'm just like, how do I have time for that? Oh, yeah, God, look at the time. Oh, wicked, it's only 7 o'clock, I can do this.
I love it. I love it. I hope we've inspired people right now.
Oh, I hope so. I feel like I've just chatted a load of waffle for how long have we been on here?
I hope that people felt like they were having the conversation with us.
Yeah, I hope so. And I think it's that, like what we said at the beginning of Raising Awareness, like, you don't have to be mega fit, mega diagnosed, or mega athletic to suffer from any of these thoughts. You don't even have to have lost your period to be part of this, I guess, community, if you like. Like, for me, it's not like, yeah, losing your period is a huge chunk of it, but it's not just that. It's like if you're female and you feel like you constantly have to work on yourself to feel good enough, you can come to us, and like, we'll just there to be hype girls, because I'm all for continuously working on ourselves, but it's got to come from a place of love. And if you're struggling in terms of like feeling like you have to work out, or feeling like you have to diet, or you've lost your period, none of that is coming from love. And it's like, if we can just be those people that can give those girls love, which I think is what everyone needs anyway, then even though we might not be able to bring their periods back themselves, or we might not be able to give them complete exercise freedom, if we can just be those hype girls that give them and share our story, then it's like, that could potentially just be one girl that goes out and does everything she wants to in this world. Yes.
I've said a few times before, my life would be complete if we, or I, or you, or anyone got a message back from someone who said, hey, a few years ago I was going through this thing and you really, really helped me, and now I just won a Nobel Prize or something like that.
Yeah.
You know? Like they basically got their life back and were able to focus on bigger and better things for them.
I always say that the reason why I chat waffle on YouTube and I share way too much on the internet is because I just hope that I can be the person that I kind of needed in that journey. That's all I want really. Why I share it is because I just spent so long trawling through the internet and YouTube just to try to find someone that was having these thoughts as well. But no one really talked about it that much. So I just kind of want to like build that bridge to be like, and like you do too. Like if we can build that bridge and just show like, you know, like it's not normal, but it's common, and yeah, it's all a little bit messed up, but we can all kind of like solve it together, you know?
Yeah, I definitely love seeing us little allies all popping up.
Yeah.
Yeah, just spreading the word, and it's cool because like you can't do it by yourself, and I can't do it by myself, and like there needs to be all of these different voices coming together, speaking it out, and so I encourage anyone listening to just like hop on and share this.
Definitely, yeah, and I think I often can beat myself up and say, like, who are you to talk about this? You don't have your qualifications, you don't have this, or God, like, basically, like, who are you to talk about this? And then I just think, like, nah, because if I had just heard someone else that I could have watched a YouTube video and go, me too, then I think that would have helped a lot.
This has been really great. I haven't connected, like, organically with like this many people on a subject in my entire life.
No, yes.
And I feel like everyone who I get to chat with about it is like, it's a real conversation, and it's really
heartfelt.
It's just really important, and it feels really genuine, and like there are people who, like, even after this one phone call, I feel like I can just like pop over to England and be like, hey, I'm gonna
oh my god,
over.
100%.
I would love to let people know where they can find me if they want to come and hang out too.
Go for it.
I only just started on YouTube. I am not crushing it as much as you are, to be perfectly honest.
I'm not. Christ, I like, it's growing a little bit, but you know, I kind of just think if you do it for the growth, you're doing it for the wrong reasons, right?
Agreed.
So yeah, go for it.
That's what I tell myself. It's hard to not get caught up in that stuff, but it's like I genuinely just want to put this out there, so whatever. And it was so cool to see you though, like just reaching quite a few people in such a short period of time about this. So congrats on that. It's amazing.
So yeah, tell everyone where they can find you. I'll pop it on the screen as well.
Cool. I am at Danny Sheriff. Like you could just Google that. I just pop up in all of the places.
Oh,
I have
fancy.
the Hypothalamic Amenorrhea podcast that I can claim as the hardest podcast to say on YouTube. And I am on YouTube at Danny Sheriff as well. So any of those places will take you to all of those places.
It's like that. So the idea was they're sat at home watching us, and it's still going. So
that might be a more artistic.
Yeah, let's say that was my way of doing it, more artistic. So that is us done here. I hope you enjoyed this chat. We chatted a lot of waffle, and I probably said a lot of ums and ahs and went on different rampages, but I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and if you're on Instagram, I don't know if I'll be able to post this to Instagram, it might be too long. But if you're on Instagram, like, share, and make sure you go over and follow Danny as well. And yeah, see you next week. Bye.